Okay, so this is a little prelude to our upcoming training, but the concept works for everything. Over the past few years, I guess a little bit of operational or practical knowledge has been lost on how to execute Strike Package Harvester. I'm going to imagine that it's been lost on some of the other Strike packages as well, but for the purposes of this, we're going to be looking specifically at Strike Package Harvester. Ignore the marks on the map. They're not relevant. This is a image that I had saved up for something else, but it will work fine for what we want to do. So, we have friendlies in the town of Agios Dionysus. So this is your friendly position. JTAC's there with them. We have a battle point out here, and that's where the AH-1s have been chilling for the past 15-20 minutes, just waiting around, waiting to be tasked, waiting for something interesting to happen. JTAC from the friendly composition calls up Omega, asks for some aircraft to be tasked for close air support. Unbeknownst to the AH-1s in this area, the friendlies in Agios Dionysus have been getting their shit pushed in by a bunch of armoured assets that have been coming in from this road. And now they've noticed there are a couple infantry squads pushing in from this direction, and at the time of the cast strike they're going to be about here. So they call up Omega. Omega sends over 2 times AH-1s, and the call sign for those going to be Gunfighter 2-1 and Gunfighter 2-2. So Gunfighter 2-1, the flight lead for this server, contacts the JTAC and says, Assassin 6-1, this is Gunfighter 2-1, holding at BP Whiskey, which is here. Correction, he's going to say, Assassin 6-1, this is Gunfighter 2-1, flight of 2 AH-1s, holding at BP Whiskey. We have this ordnance, this playtime, whatever other shit we currently say in our cast check-ins. What have you got for us? The JTAC comes back, and I love it when JTACs do this, and they'll give a sit rep. Gunfighter 2-1, friendlies holding in the town of Agios Dionysus have taken heavy contact along the MSR to the east. We are at 50% operational capacity, and blah blah blah. There's currently a SAM site at the town of Lakar that we were tasked to take out. We haven't done it yet, we know they're still active, and now we have infantry pushing in from our northeast, about to encroach on our position. The H1 comes back and says, copy on sit rep, waiting for game plan, or something like that. The JTAC says, game plan as follows, we're going to have you execute Strike Package Harvester on enemies in defilade position, in a position of defilade. This will be Type 3 control, so we're not going to need to see your aircraft. And you're going to be ideally attacking from west to east and north to south. So, first considerations you want to be making as that flight lead are, number 1, town of Lakar, or Laka, or however you pronounce this weird Greek town, has an active SAM site in it. For the purposes of this, it'll be in manpads. So we need to be very careful when running our attack vector that we don't go ahead and get anywhere near this, and we need to know that we may need to break off immediately and be popping flares and all sorts of evasive shit to get out of that kill zone, because that is a kill zone. This area here that I'm about to mark is in risk of taking fire from this town. So, he's given you the game plan, he's given you his sit rep, now he's going to give you the 9-line, he's going to, say, in point, well, he's going to say, essentially, if he's giving you Strike Package Harvester, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable. sorry, 3 non-applicables, and then he's going to give you this grid. He's going to give you what they are, where they are, shit like that. He's going to give you where the friendlies are. Given the distance is about 1 click, they're not going to be marked. Because these guys are in a town, they don't need to be marked. We know we're not firing on that town. And you're going to come in as the aircraft commander. So you've copied that. And then the JTAC, who's going to be a really good, responsible JTAC, is going to ask for the second aircraft to read back, you know, whatever lines for the 9 line he wants you to read back. The second aircraft reads that back, and then he will say, in points your discretion, something like that, in his remarks. Proceed to, in points, advise when in on target. That's it. So, aircraft commander is going to take a second. He's going to think about all this. He's going to then say to his second aircraft in his flight, okay, the friendlies are at this position and the enemies are here, so we're going to attack from the west as requested by the JTAC and from the north. The in points or initial points are going to be 2 kilometers from the target, which is here and which is about here. Gunfighter 2-1 will attack from the north, and you're going to emphasize from the north, while Gunfighter 2-2 will attack from the west. Keep in mind, and I would relay this if I was the flight lead, do not fire on a town, anything in close proximity to a town. That's where friendlies are. Enemies are in the open, north of the MSR, about 1 click. Gunfighter 2-2 is going to come back with, yep, I understand all of that. Gunfighter 2-1 is going to say, okay, Gunfighter 2-2, you're going to proceed to the furthest initial point. It's a good practice for the flight lead to have his second aircraft go at the furthest initial point, so the lead aircraft, which is his own flight, can adjust as need be without relying on someone else to have adjustments done so that the strike works perfectly. He's going to do it himself. So Gunfighter 2-2 heads up to this initial point, and that was terrible. He's going to come around like so he's flying on his attack vector, and Gunfighter 2-1 is going to come in on his attack vector. Gunfighter 2-1 knows that 2-2 is a bit further away, so he's going to fly relatively slow, while 2-2 is going to be flying, you know, a bit fast. He's going to be rolling about Buster to get up here, and by the time he hits that, you're going to have 2 aircraft at about the same spacing. The goal here is to hit the initial point with about 5 to 10 to 15 seconds spacing. If one of the aircraft hits it early, that's fine. If one of the aircraft hits it late, that's fine. If one of the aircraft or both aircraft hit at the same time, the flight lead should slow down his ingress from the initial point. The flight lead does this. All other times, both aircraft are flying Buster once they hit initial point. That way you don't worry about speeds or any shit like that. All you worry about is the fact, am I flying at the max capacity or the max speed this aircraft can manage? If so, I'm doing my job. So, Gunfighter 2-2, let's say, hits the initial point before 2-1. That's cool. Gunfighter 2-1 hits it before 2-2. Less desirable, but, you know, you can work with that. Because then it makes it harder for 2-1 to, you know, adjust his speed based on his other aircraft. So, let's say 2-2 hits his point earlier than expected and he's in first. Cool. So 2-1 now just slows down a bit. So he hits his in point. He flies full Buster, and say 2-2 is the first one in. Hits full Buster and he's flying towards this target. He is going to get to about 1.5 click out, which is... ooh, if I had to guess, it'd be about here. And he's going to start, you know, ripple firing his... not ripple firing, sorry. He's going to shoot, you know, single, or in our case, 2, because 2 come off the pylons at once. He's going to be shooting single shots at his target. He's not going to dump the entire 2 pods worth of FFARs in one burst, because if he misses, you know, some way or another, he's going to not be able to adjust his shots. He's going to be shooting, you know, bang, he's going to say, oh, that's landed there, and he's going to adjust, and he's going to go bang, bang, and when he starts realizing his shots are pretty good, he's going to just go bang, 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 shoot off however many he wants to, and then he's going to overfly the target, and then turn out in this direction. Gunfighter 2-1, spotting the splashes of Gunfighter 2-2, is going to then reference that as the point. He's going to see if he can see any targets. His gunner should be talking him onto the target. His gunner could come back and say, see where those impacts are landing. There's more infantry on our side of those impacts, short of those impacts, deeper of those impacts, left or right of those impacts, and then the pilot will go, okay, so I just need to offset, say, up here, or they're a little bit shorter, so down here, and then he's gonna, ideally this Gunfighter 2-2 is gonna be clear. Gunfighter 2-1's going to wait for 2-2 to be clear or just clear. Then he's gonna shoot his targets, and then he's gonna turn out and form up behind, and then pass, and both aircraft are gonna return to being a single flight of AH-1s. The astute of you will realise a problem with our ingress vectors. If Gunfighter 2-2 is somehow offset from the target and really fucks his job up, he'll be firing on top of the town. So, another way that you could look at this, and the preferred way, remember, doctrine is the Bible of the unimaginative. The doctrine says you attack in true cardinal directions. I say fuck that. It's a lot easier and a lot safer if we don't do that. So your enemies are about here. Friendlies are here. Your battle point's up here. And we'll be running the same strike, so we don't have to worry about that. Same elements, stuff like that. What we should be doing, if that is where the friendly position is, we want to be attacking from this point, and we don't have a part of a map here, but if I had to take a little estimation, this would be from here. They don't have to be true 90-degree angles as well. A bit of deviation either side's not going to hurt anyone. It's not going to affect your BDA. You're still getting different alternate angles on this target. So instead of having, an initial point up here, which if it gets fucked up can really be to the detriment of friendlies, you could have one here. It's not a big sin to fly over a friendly position on your attack. As long as you know where that friendly position is and it's not danger close, you're not going to have a problem with it. Once you start getting danger close targets in the vicinity of this area, you do not want to be overflying that friendly position on your engagement run, because if an FFAR, if a cannon falls short, you're going to be up shit creek without a paddle when you start knocking off the backs of the heads of friendlies. But another argument you could have for that is I have no responsibility once the JTAC's cleared me danger close. So taking another look at how we could run this, say you've got the friendly position in the town of, I believe it's pronounced Serta, up here, and you've got enemies converging on their position from this area. You could then have your 45-degree angles, whatever, as long as the angles about intersect on a perpendicular angle. It doesn't have to be perfect, again. It can be whatever, you can make of it, so you could be coming in like that, and like that. The key points that you can take away from this, though, are you don't need, the JTAC to hold your hand through this, and you don't need your flight lead to hold your hand through this. The flight lead will tell you exactly what he wants you to do, and you shouldn't have any problems managing that. So if you're a flight lead and you get given, this attack, I might say I want them 3 click out, so 1, 2, 3, that's about 3 click out. 1, 2, 3, and about there. So I'll come back and I'll say my in point I'm going to be attacking from the northeast to the southwest. 2-2, you'll be attacking from the southeast to the northwest, and you'll get him to read back those attack vectors. And he'll read back and you'll say, yep, that's fine, and you need to be on the ball when he tells you this, when he reads it back, because if he fucks it up and you don't catch it, this strike's not going to work the way it's intended. So you'll say your battle points out here. You'll split up, fly in, so if I'm here, I'll loop around like that, and if he's down there, he'll loop around like that, and I will essentially slow my flight down as I'm getting closer and closer and listening for my second aircraft to hit the initial point. And once I hear him hit it, I'm going to go buster from, I might be here, and fly over my initial point. 2-2 calls, gunfighter 2-2 initial. JTAC comes back 2-2 cleared hot. And if it's type 3, that applies, I believe it applies for both of the aircraft in that flight. If he's running type 2 or type 1, he might need to clear both aircraft on initial. However, I'm going to go pick a JTAC sprain in regards to that. So he flies in on his heading like that. Again, Doctrine says you do it, on these angles. That's bullshit. Half the time that'll put you flying over friendly positions. We can avoid that. That is how you run Strike Package Harvester. If the JTAC starts telling you where your in points are, or to run it from specific battle points, come back and say to the JTAC, yo, that's not really going to work. It's not how this strike package is run. Come along to our training next week and we'll show it to you. The only thing the JTAC should be giving you, if he wants to, is a battle point from where you can start it. And that can just be for ease of his control, or he just won't give you anything for Harvester other than the friendly position and the enemy position and what they're marked by. And that's what I'd recommend a JTAC does. Leave it to the aircrafts to, figure out how they want to do this to minimize risk to friendlies while still fucking up enemies in a spectacular display of fireworks. So here you've got, and I'll run through it once more. Here you've got, your enemy position. Say it's down there, or that won't work. Down there, and you've got your JTAC position up on this hill. Well, then your true bearings are going to work fine, and you won't be at risk of hitting friendlies if your friendlies are up here on this hill. But it's when your friendly positions are in a place like this, and this is where you'll likely be getting them on Strike Package Harvester. You don't want to be flying over the friendly positions. Anyway, that concludes Strike Package Harvester. It's really simple once you realise how it should be done. It's great for working on your communications, and I hope to see all of you at training this week, where we'll be covering Strike Package Harvester in depth, and we'll be running it numerous times in the one session.